Ave Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. The apostles gathered together with Jesus and reported all that they had done and taught. He said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a deserted place and rest a while." People were coming and going in great numbers, and there was no opportunity even to eat. So they went off in the boat by themselves to a deserted place. People saw them leaving, and many came to know about it. They hastened there on foot from all the towns and arrived at the place before them. When he disembarked and saw the vast crowd, his heart was moved with pity for them, for they were like sheep without a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord.
Today's Gospel is a continuation of last week's Gospel. The disciples that Jesus sent out to preach, heal, and cast out demons have now returned from their mission, and that moment of reunion was full of rejoicing and energy. They experienced the power of God working through them, moving people's hearts through their words and deeds. There is a great lesson for us wrapped up in this story. They are back from the mission and are anxious to tell Jesus of all the things that they have done. And Jesus wants to hear their stories and invites them to go to a place where they can rest. He compassionately reads the situation. He does not encourage them to do more, to do better. He knows that they need time to rest and relax. Some 39 years ago, I was just out of high school, and although I had never been out on my own, I went on a trip by myself. I went 1,000 miles south of here on a plane, and I was sitting on a bus when an angry man wearing a funny hat yelled at me to get off of his bus. I had arrived at Parish Island, South Carolina, where they make Marines. The next 12 weeks were a blur. Push-ups, running, and lots of marching, and even more yelling of drill instructors. Oh yeah, don't forget the sand fleas. But then there was Sunday, and I can remember the DIs checking their lists. Catholics over here, Protestant brothers over here. The Jewish recruits had gone the day before. We marched off to church. The Mass was unlike anything that I had ever seen. Who here has been to the Pentecost Vigil? It was like that, but on steroids. Charismatic music, hands raised, men singing, men crying, and there was a lot of grunting going on. And I was thinking to myself, they brought me to the wrong place. And I can remember thinking, hey, Sergeant, I think we're in the wrong church. I'm Catholic. Then the Mass started, and the priest processed out, led by the altar servers. And looking around the building, I saw the crucifix. I saw the Stations of the Cross. And as the Mass progressed, I heard the readings and the Gospel. And then I heard the Eucharistic prayers. And I saw the consecrated host and the chalice being lifted up. I knew I was in the right building. I received Jesus in the Eucharist, and I began to cry. The Good Shepherd was with me. The Lord is my shepherd. There is nothing I shall want. My shepherd was there to protect and strengthen me. This hour or so away from the stress and pain of the Marine Corps boot camp was my time to recharge, my time to refresh my soul. For me, going to Mass was like being on a retreat, that time away to get close to Him. Every week following, I was at Paris Island. The Eucharist fed and strengthened me. This was my R&R, my time to recharge. Today, that same Eucharist, that same Jesus present in the ordinary bread and wine strengthens me, and if I am open to receive those graces in my life. Did you ever wonder why we get so emotionally and spiritually exhausted by the busyness in our lives? It's because we aren't recharging our batteries, especially our spiritual batteries. Stress, discouragement, and other emotions can wear us out if we aren't daily reinforcing our faith in Jesus Christ. Only our faith with Christ can supply us with the strength and wisdom we need to be truly successful, not just successful in the roles we play in our lives, but in who we are beneath those roles. Without prayer, study, and time alone with God, our well will run dry, and we will have nothing substantial to offer others. You have all probably heard of the term R&R. It comes from the military and stands for rest and relaxation. But I think that Jesus would add a third R to this secular notion of R&R. Rest, relaxation are absolutely necessary, but so is a third R, reflection, to determine where we are and where we're going. When I was at boot camp, I needed to have a place that I wasn't being yelled at. I didn't have to do 1,000,000 push-ups, and then didn't have to act like a tough Marine. While on Parish Island, my R was in front of the Eucharist. Jesus was calling me to enter into his still waters, if only for a short time. The 3 R's can be delayed, but never omitted. After all, Jesus promised refreshment for those who are tired. He said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavily burdened. I will refresh you." We are all called to be his disciples in our lives. Many of you minister to your community. Often you don't know that you are ministering. You may minister to an elderly parent or a lonely relative. You minister to a needy child, taking time to play and answer 100 questions. You minister to a hurting friend by your presence. You minister to a sick neighbor by shopping or preparing a meal or even cutting the grass. And besides all that, you work at keeping yourself and your household going. Jesus has something to say to you today. You too need time to take for the 3 R's. Rest, relax, and reflect. Deliberate rest and relaxation are essential for healthy living. But reflection is also essential for establishing a balance between work and the R&R in life. Jesus did not push the 12 beyond their limits. And he doesn't do that to us either. But he may be leading you by posing some questions. Do I balance my work and ministry along with my rest? Extremes are easy to reach. Extreme work leads to burnout. Extreme rest leads to rust and laziness. Balance is a challenge. Do I allow Jesus to minister to me? Do I need more interior prayer to discern God's will in my life? Do I spend quality time with the Lord, or has my prayer life become mechanical or mindless? And when I say mechanical, I mean unemotional. And this actually avoids an honest conversation with Jesus. Contemplation, action, prayer, and work, such was Christ's way, and so it must be our way either. Our society tends to stress the importance of action more than prayer, but the two really are meant to go together. Jesus taught this not only the way he treated his closest friends, but also by the example of his own life. Towards the beginning of his ministry, he and his apostles visited Peter's mother-in-law, and Jesus cured her. After that, they were ready for their mission, but Jesus took time for prayer. Before his torture and arrest and crucifixion, Jesus took time for prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane. He had to do that. He had to be ready to face the challenges that were coming in his life. Jesus himself led a full and active life, but that activity was fueled and inspired by his prayer. And as that case for him, surely it is the case for us. Prayer and action are both equally important for our spiritual maturity in today's world, and God can certainly help us if we give him the chance. The one way to do this is to make a commitment to regular prayer, not one that shifts with our moods. We need to pray daily, to have that daily quiet time with Jesus. Pray for others, to reflect on scriptures, or maybe to read some good spiritual books. God willing, soon our Adoration Chapel will be opening, and I know that they are looking to fill some hours. The church website has some information on this if you are so inclined. We need to carve out that time for prayer. It doesn't have to be a lot, maybe 10 minutes in the morning or in the evening, but it has to be consistent, and that means self-discipline. Christ wants us to stay close to him through prayer, so that with him we were able to do great things for his kingdom. As I said earlier, we are all called to be his disciples, to build up his kingdom in ourselves, in our families, in our workplaces, to be brothers and sisters committed to our calling. In September, we will be giving the men of the parish an opportunity to build up his kingdom by entering into a better relationship with Jesus. The parish will be restarting the Men of St. Joseph, an association of Catholic men committed to Jesus Christ. On Saturday morning, September 18th, we will begin with the Rosary at 6:40, and then at 7:15 attend the Mass, and then followed by fellowship in the hall. We will learn by following 5 promises so we can build up God's kingdom. And when I speak about promises, these can be challenging, but they're not over the top or difficult. Going to Mass with our families, developing a prayer life, and attending a daily Mass maybe once a month, experiencing the sacrament of reconciliation at least twice a year, to pray and spend time with our family, and to gather together as men in association. These promises help us to build up our relationship with Jesus in our lives, and this will be open to all men, and all are welcome and encouraged to attend. More information is forthcoming on the website and in our bulletin. Today, when we come to meet Jesus in a Holy Communion, let us tell him that we need him to enter into our lives, to give us the strength to get through those tough moments in our lives. We need to meet Jesus in the quiet place before we go out into our busy world. In the Eucharist, we need our Lord. Let us receive him and follow him, both in our ministry and in the 3 R's: rest, relaxation, and reflection.
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, qui aquam meruisti portare, alleluia, resurrexit sicut dixit, alleluia.